Hey, what's up, friends? In this episode, we're going to cover the America Competes Act that was passed a couple weeks ago, which includes the W visa for entrepreneurs and startups. So stay tuned all the way to the end so you get more details. Hey, friends, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting, and I practice law, immigration law in all 50 states of America and all across the world, helping you solve your immigration problem. Now, here we are. I'm going to talk about the America Competes Act to give you an overview, and I want to share with you the statement announcement from the White House. Okay, so President Biden just made a brief statement about this and the purpose of this America Competes Act. He thanked the House to get this passed, which was passed last year, by the way. Um, Really, to outcompete China, focusing on manufacturing of chips and to improve the supply chain. Okay, because I'm sure as you noticed, if you, even if you go to like a grocery store, Whole Foods, or any other grocery store, it's not as fully stocked as it normally was, especially, of course, before the pandemic. So they do need to do a lot to fix that and improve it. So, here a statement says, I'm going to see if I can highlight this. They'll help bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. That sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? I remember President Trump saying that the tax cuts bill that he got passed was supposed to bring jobs back, but I'm not quite too sure if that did the job. So, as you can see, this is really supposed to help compete against China. And because I'm sure you know, if you shop on Amazon, a lot of products come are manufactured or produced there from there. So, uh, now we're going to share some overview. I'm going to share my other. So just to here's a quick overview, and this is the America Competes Act again. 52 billion is for the Chips for America Act, which is a focus on, of course, the cars, right? The chips for the cars is a real life example. If you're in the market for a car, you've been trying to sell your car, it's a good time for you to do that. But if you, it's kind of like the housing market. If you sell your car, but you want to buy a new car, you're definitely going to be spending a lot more money than you normally would have before the pandemic. It's all really because of the chips and the supply chain. Okay. I'm not an expert in that, but that's what I keep hearing about. Okay. 45 billion to support the manufacture and acquisition of critical goods or industrial equipment. So that's a pretty significant number. Okay, so this is just high level bullet points here. And this will also advance America's scientific research and innovation excellence to ensure we lead the technologies of the future. And of course, the main purpose of this video, this episode, is to explain the W visa for startups, which includes foreign entrepreneurs, startup founders, and also their essential employees, which is mostly for managers. Okay. The overall general overview here is this bill is intended to boost US competitiveness against China or versus China, and specifically in the semiconductor manufacturing and research. And it just so happens because we need that research and focus on science, they've included the W visa, friends. So, and it's going to focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education and training. I know you might be thinking, well, John, this is not comprehensive immigration reform. That is not what I wanted. Well, I understand, but it's a step towards something. Okay. I know it doesn't help people that might have like the 10-year bar, the 3-year bar, or falsely claiming U.S. citizenship. You may not have really done that, but the government believes you did. So there's so many scenarios that comprehensive immigration reform could help. But believe it or not, I know some of y'all that are watching, subscribers. We've received some calls about people who already have started a business for several years, whether successful or not. I don't exactly know those details, but stay tuned till the end because there's actually some details about basically the P&L. Okay, the government wants to get a little bit more involved into the details of your business. Um, but by the way, this House bill was passed in a bipartisan manner, which is wonderful. This bill was actually passed last year in the House, and this was so how it works in Congress. If you're not too familiar, I think by now in the past year you are more familiar with Congress and how it works. But whether the when the House passes their version first, there's a what we call companion bill, so a similar version on the Senate side. So the Senate at this point for this America Competes Act has to go through their process, go discuss it on the Senate floor, make any changes. And if there are significant changes that's different from the House bill, then it goes to another committee to basically merge it. Okay. And then it goes for another vote. So all this happened, many steps happen before it goes to the president's desk. So I know some of y'all are complaining about Biden in general for immigration. I definitely am complaining. They need to put more pressure on Congress, whether it's Democrat or Republican. Really, they need to push more on influencing the Republicans more. And I think this bill, just my personal opinion, I believe this bill will push the needle more for Republicans because I'll tell you what, if Republicans do not agree to this, and all they need is really 10 on the Senate side. If 10 Republicans can't agree on this, then I'm pretty sure there's going to be a firestorm essentially, okay? It's going to be real bad because at that point, in my opinion, there needs to be something done through the reconciliation way, and they just need to find a different way. By the way, all those proposals, Plan ABC, through that had to go through the Senate parliamentarian, I thought they were horrible. I didn't think that was going to work, and there's other ways that can get it done. Hey, if Congress calls me, someone from Congress, I'm ready to take their call. But I really think there's a way around it, but they need to think a little bit more creatively, be more a little bit more creative in how they get that through. But anyways, what this also does, friends, okay, it will create two significant immigration reforms: a new visa for entrepreneurs, okay, and a direct path to permanent residency for those immigrants who earn a PhD in a STEM field in the United States, okay. um, so it is possible to get this done. Okay. Now, this is better in some sense. If you saw my late night show Saturday, if you haven't, check it out because I did vent a little bit about it. Which just to boil it down, you got to pay 15,000 in 15 years to become a citizen. So that's a bit of money. So if that's the case, you might as well start your own company, okay, and go through this process, the America Competes Act. Okay, so go a little more detail now. Is that this visa is available for the entrepreneur, their startup founder, which for some of y'all may think it could be the same person. It also includes essential workers. I'm sorry, that's a common phrase, right? Essential employees and their spouses and children. So it's essential employees from what I read, it's for the managers essentially. So kind of like or managers or executives. So similar to the L visa. Okay. And by the way, so there are some concerns before I show you the text of the bill. There are some concerns that I read a website from SHRM. It's a Society for Human Resource and Management that supports workforce development and immigration provisions in the America Competes Act. But the concern about the addition of labor relations proposals from a previous bill, the Protecting the Right to Organize, the PRO Act, which passed the House last year. So I mention this because it's not always, even though there's provisions about immigrant non-immigrant visa and an immigrant visa pathway, which means for residency, it's not always smooth. Okay, it's not always any provision that all these immigrant or groups or advocacy groups will always agree with. So, and that's common. Okay, so that's why bills take a while to get passed because of all the back and forth through committees, amendments. But anyway, just want to share that. So, and another thing about this, okay, so more detail about specifically the W visa. You have to have at least 250,000, okay, 250,000 in qualifying investments. And so, in ownership interest, if you're, let's say, you're the one applying for the non-immigrant visa, you cannot have less than 10%. I'm sorry, not less than 5% in the startup. So that's actually pretty good. So that helps you. I mean, hopefully you're starting with 100% and then, you sold off a part of your company because you want to get more investment. And this is important because the third bullet here says you need to have received at least a half million in additional qualified investment during your visa period. Okay. So you can start with showing proof that you've had 250,000 at the time that you apply for the visa. But after you have the visa approved, you need another 500,000. So, friends, you really need to think of some game plan here. And then you need to at least create 5 full-time jobs, generate at least not less than half million in annual revenue. And this one I wanted to reference earlier, average 20% annual revenue growth. Let that sit in for a little bit, okay? 20% annual revenue growth. So, I mean, hey, that's certainly a goal for any company, but what does this mean? This means the government wants detailed information, proof. I don't know if it's going to be every year, but that's what it says, annual revenue growth. So maybe after every 3 years or before the 3 years expire, because that's how long they say the duration of the visa is going to be, they're going to want proof of every year. I can completely understand they want to make sure that this is not a fake company. And if you're investing a lot of money into this company, it's definitely not fake, right? But and especially if it says they want you to create 5 full-time jobs, but the fact that they want to get a little bit involved into the annual revenue growth is a bit too much, in my opinion. But anyways, hopefully that changes. But at least they say average. Okay. Now the other thing is that the good thing on this is that it allows for dual intent. Okay, so this is page 1689 out of 2900 pages. So we're here at section 80301. By the way, in the description box below, you're going to have the link in case for some reason you want to go through this. But just a quick overview. So again, this is also for essential employees of the startup and the entrepreneur. And go down here. So it is allowed for non-immigrant visa. So that means temporary basis. And then keep going down here. Oh, so that's why I said 10% earlier. I'm not sure why I said 5%. But yeah, not less than 10%. Okay. And you could have already created this entity before. You don't have to create it, many years ago or even recently. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier too. So 250,000 investment could be from an investor. They call it qualified investor, I believe more for SEC purposes. Okay, the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have a specific definition on that, and it might even be in the text of this bill, or at least 100,000 in qualifying government awards and grants. All right, so that's not bad. And it's for 3 years. You get a 3-year extension. They have to renew, file another application. Okay, this is where I got the 5%. Okay. Okay, so I think this is saying that maybe you have diluted your shares and you sold off part of your interest again, probably to get another 500,000. So in investments, okay, 5 full-time jobs, and here's the language about the 20%. And then after that, you can renew. So after you get the first renewal, you can renew for 1 year after that, but not more than 2 of them. Okay, so that's the part that's a bit strange. I mean, I have some clients that don't want to live here permanently and only want a non-immigrant visa, and so something like that is like the E2. So yeah, you might be wondering why this versus like the E2. Well, E2 is very capped at for countries who have a treaty visa with the United States. So far in this text of the bill, I have not seen anything that has a requirement of having to need a treaty with the United States. So that's a good thing. So going back to the text bill, I apologize. I know I'm way over than what I wanted. It's more than 16 minutes at this point. But here's the part about non-immigrant essential employers or employees. also for 3 years initially. Okay. But here it is. It needs to have be in the employment in the executive capacity or managerial. So in that sense, that's similar to the L visa. Scrolling down here, it also it does have a part where you can be terminated. I guess if there's a material change that was not reported. And here's the dual intent that's allowed. It does define what qualified investor is. So I'll let you have a take a look at that. And then let's see, I do believe there's something else I want to share with you. There's a lot of information here that's helpful for to explain for immigration purposes. So check this out, okay? It even mentions definition like U.S. business entity. I suppose they don't want, you know, you to create a company outside the United States. I think that's sufficient. So they have, with law, they always have to be specific. Now, here's the great thing, my friends, admission of immigrant entrepreneurs. So this is for AKA the green card resident status. And here it is, that part I like, and I think you'll like, excluded from numerical limitations. So, for folks that are especially waiting a long time, usually from countries like India or China, there will be no problem, apparently, okay, with this. So that's really good. There's no wait time. Well, there's always a wait time, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's no, significant waiting time because of any kind of quota, okay, or max allocation of visas. Okay, so that's the thing I wanted to share with you. And you can go in more detail. It will ask basically for more jobs, startup entity. So at least it's based on entity and not like EB5 where it's per investor, but created at least 10 qualified jobs. Okay. And then you have to have received not less than a total of 1.25 million in qualifying investment. Okay. And at that point, so basically they're trying to say, and also they have says or generate not less than a million in annual revenue in the 2 years before. And so I mention this because they're not qualifying it based on like, okay, you need to wait X number of years before you apply for residency. Basically, they're saying it's based on revenue or on investments that you receive, then you can go ahead and apply for residency. That's actually in some sense more flexible. I mean, that's to some people, depending on the type of business, that amount of money is not as harder to achieve, but for other business concepts, it might not be difficult at all. So that's something to consider, And by the way, we will actually are considering to start another channel that's specific for, um, information based on business counseling. Okay, a business academy channel. So stay tuned on that. Trying to come up with more details before we actually start it, because a real a tip here. I have a previous video with another attorney colleague, Harry, and that was about the traps of partnership. Okay, when you want to join up with someone else, number one, I give a quick tip here: you need to have it on paper. Okay, if you have an agreement, have it on paper. And number two, consult with an attorney, because what you might think is appropriate to have an agreement, you might think that's enough, but I can pretty much assure you, I don't want to guarantee, assure you that that is not enough, because everyone that has chatted with me in the past about their agreement, operating or partnership agreement, I'm like, it's missing XYZ. So that's probably why you may have the argument right now. Okay. Anyways, that's really the gist, my friends. So, oh, by the way, it does have a provision about premium processing. So that's great. We did not even really get a chance to go into detail about the stems. Sorry, not STEM, but the doctoral STEM graduates. So I'm happy to cover that in a separate episode. But by the way, here's the secret code that you've been waiting patiently for. This is to unlock the free 15 minutes. So, friends, it's not necessarily with me, it's just anyone with our legal team, just because you might know this. I have very limited time. I'm just out here trying to get you as much information as timely as possible and accurately. Okay. Which, by the way, if you think I may have said anything wrong, let me know. I definitely want to correct any information, so get you the right information. So in the meantime, friends, let me know what you think about this proposal, this act, okay? Or I'm sorry, not act, but this bill proposal. Let me know in the comments down below, okay? And by the way, friends, if you've enjoyed our format here, I know it's a bit, this is 20 minutes now, but if you enjoyed the information, please smash the like button. We greatly appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you know anyone that will is interested in something like this, please share our video. We greatly appreciate it. So, friends, until next time, please continue wearing a mask. Stay safe.